Hello and welcome to this second exploring session as we continue our look at Sappho and Phao by John Lyly. And this is a play that's raised lots of questions and issues in the previous session. And it's really going to be a matter at this time of finding out where this play now takes us and what those questions that have raised last time, are they resolved, and how that all comes together. We have this wonderful room of people to talk about this play and these figures, there are questions that we brought up last time about that were raised and left unanswered about how this connects with stories of real figures, a real figure of Sappho, we may start actually engaging with those this time. Yes, so if you want to know what's the story so far, go back and watch the previous video. It's there, it's on YouTube, it's before this one, and it's quite good. Otherwise, it's a play about Sappho and Phao, and that should broadly speaking fill you in on most of the important points. To read through the second half of the play, we're going from Act 3, Scene 2 to the end. We have assembled this wonderful room of people. So reading today the parts of Cryticus and Phao himself is...
Hi, I'm Steve Longstaffe, scholar of early modern drama based in the northwest of the UK.
And reading Sappho today is...
Hi, I'm Tamara. I'm an actor currently based in Germany.
Reading Molus today is...
Hi, I'm Eric.
Eric's introductions are just getting shorter every time.
Yeah, at some point it's just going to be hi.
It's going to be next time. It's just going, hi, I'm reading the part of Calypho and Sybiilla today is...
I'm Lois, another scholar of early modern drama living in London.
Reading Mileta today is...
Hi, I'm Alan Scott, neither an actor nor an academic, based in Suffolk.
Reading Ismena today is...
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Amisu. I'm an author based in London.
Reading Canope and Venus is...
Hello, I'm Lynn. I'm a teacher. I live in the northwestern United States.
Reading Eugenua and Vulcan is...
Hello, I'm Helen Good. I'm a historian and I'm in Yorkshire.
Reading Lamya and Cupid is...
Hi, I'm Nicole. I'm an actor based in New Jersey.
And reading Favilla and the Epilogue is...
Hi, I'm Joe. I'm an actor, an academic, pracademic, if you will.
And I'm your host, Robert Crighton. I'll be reading what few stage directions there are, and also just keeping everything moving forward and stepping in to read any parts I've accidentally forgotten to give out, as does occasionally happen. So we're going from Act 3 and Act 3, Scene 2, which is effectively a continuation of a scene that we did at the end of the last session, which features two characters who will not feature in this half of the play, and so we don't need to really go into too much detail about who they are, but what they left behind on stage were their two servants. And this is a game we've had in this play a couple of times, where these characters, Cryticus and Pandion, wander on, do some verbal wit for a while. Their servants are sort of left standing, and then they exit and they leave the servants to do some other business, and that's where we left the session last time. So we're now going to join Act 3, Scene 2, with the probably remaining on stage of Cryticus and Molus. So Act 3, Scene 2, please.
What brown study art thou in, Molus? No mirth, no life.
I am in the depth of my learning, driven to amuse. How this Lent I shall scramble in the court that was wont to fast so often in the university.
Thy belly is thy god.
Then he is a deaf god.
Why?
For venter non habet auris, but thy back is thy god.
Then is it a blind god?
How prove you that?
Easy. Nemo videt manticae quod in tergo est.
Then would the satchel that hangs at your god id est your back were full of meat to stuff my god hoc est my belly.
Excellent. But how canst thou study when thy mind is only in the kitchen?
Doth not the horse travel best that sleepeth with his head in the manger?
Yes. What then?
Good wits will apply, but what cheer is there here this Lent?
Fish.
I can eat none, it's wind.
Eggs?
I must eat none, they are fire.
Cheese?
It is against the old verse, casus est nequam.
Yeah, but it digesteth all things except itself.
Yea, but if a man hath nothing else to eat, what shall it digest?
You are disposed to jest, but if your silk throat can swallow no packthread, you must pick your teeth and play with your trencher.
So shall I not incur the fulsome and unmannerly sin of surfeiting? But here cometh Calypho.
What news?
Since my being here, I have sweat like a dog to prove my master a devil. He brought such reasons to refell me, as I promise you I shall like the better of his wit, as long as I am with him.
How?
Thus, I always arguing that he had horns, and therefore a devil, he said, "Fool, they are things like horns, but no horns." For once, in the Senate of God, being holden a solemn session, in the midst of their talk, I put in my sentence, which was so indifferent that they all concluded it might as well have been left out as put in, and so placed on either side of my head things like horns, and called me a parenthesis. Now, my masters, this may be true, for I've seen it myself about diverse sentences.
It is true, and the same did Mars make a full point, that Vulcan's head was made a parenthesis.
This shall go with me. I trust in Syracuse to give one or other a parenthesis.
Is Venus yet come home?
No, but were I Vulcan, I would, by the gods.
What wouldest thou?
Nothing, but as Vulcan, halt by the gods.
I thought you would have hardly entreated Venus.
Nay, Venus is easily entreated, but let that go by.
What?
That which maketh so many parentheses.
I must go by too, or else my master will not go by me, but meet me full with his fist. Therefore, if we shall sing, give me my part quickly, for if I tarry long, I shall cry my part woefully.
And once again, we have a song, and they all sing, arm, arm, the foe comes on apace.
What's that red nose and sulphury face?
'Tis the hot leader.
What's his name?
Bacchus, a captain of plump frame, the goat, the beast on which he rides, fat grunting swine run by his sides. His stand-bearer fears no knocks, for he's a drunken butterbox, who when in the red field thus he rebels, cries out, 10,000 turn of tribbles.
What's he so swaggers in the van?
Oh, that's a roaring Englishman, who in deep healths does so excel, from Dutch and French he bears the bell.
What victuals follow Bacchus' camps?
Fools, fiddlers, panders, pimps, and ramps.
See, the battle now grows hot. Here legs fly, here go heads to the pot. Here whores and knaves toss broken glasses. Here all the soldiers look like asses.
What men heard such hideous noise?
Oh, that's the vintners bawling boys. Anon the trumpets are, which calleth them to the fearful bar.
Rush in and let's our forces try.
Oh no, for see, they fly.
And so will I.
And I.
And they all sing, 'tis a hot day in drink to die. And thus closes the scene. Once again, we have this set of people. It was the same set of people who did the singing last time, I think. Just a general note, as with last time, these songs do appear later in the existence of these plays. They may or may not be from the original staging. They may be something added by printers later, or they may not. They seem to fit the the overall shape of things. So we're just going to go with that without further comment. So yes, we've got similar action banter wordplay going on with these three characters as we had last time. So this is very much, for those who were here last time, as a continuation of that sort of themes and ideas. How are we finding this particular group of people? Thoughts from the room? Alan?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're basically there to provide light relief from the plot and some of the other bits which maybe some may feel have got a bit wordy, and it sort of wakes the audience up a bit. You know, nice jolly song sung by a couple of, I see them as quite young lads, you know, and it probably would wake a few of the audience up.
Get the boys, unpack the boy sopranos.
Are they armed?
Contraltos too.
Yes. Other thoughts? Helen?
I like that last song. Very much. It's got a lot of energy.
Yes.
And, you know, topical references, and yeah, it's great. Englishmen all drunk.
And so will I, and I, and I. 'Tis a hot day in drink to die. Lois?
I suppose the continuation of the joke about Vulcan and his horns, it sort of keeps Venus and Vulcan in mind, since Venus appeared at the very beginning, and she is the cause that Phao is so dishy. So it's sort of vaguely keeping the main plot going.
Other thoughts before we move on this little Rachael?
Maybe I think this is like a recurring thing that Lyly seems to do, where the women aren't very present, but they're very much talked about. I mean, besides Sybiilla, but these women who are the you know, supposed to be, I guess, the female leads, maybe like Sappho and Venus, are not very present, but they're much talked about by all these other characters, but they're not very much seen. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, no, lovely. Eric?
Also, wasn't Molus the servant of Pandion, who basically disappears for the rest of the day?
Yeah,
so yeah, he's like, I'm gonna follow that, but not right now. I'm gonna follow that, but I'm in a hurry. But you know, I might be back. I don't know.
Of course, an audience doesn't necessarily know what's going to happen with individual characters. So, as far as the audience is concerned, Pandion has just literally walked off stage before this thing happens. We've got lots of integrated use of Latin within the dialogue, in the sense that you kind of need to know what's being said there to sort of help make some of that flow in a way, as opposed to when you've got a bit of Latin that's quoted and then they immediately transpose it into English. It's a different sort of game going on here. Stephen, I saw a hand.
Yeah, just to sort of add to Helen's point, the sort of festivity at the end is the other end of the scene is people talking about Lent and scarcity. So we've kind of got a sort of, it beautifully sets it up, I think, the structure of the scene, so that we end with this kind of rousing thing. In the beginning, we're talking about not having enough to eat and what you can't eat during Lent and so on.
And these servants being continually obsessed with when's the next meal coming. We've had that quite a few times of late as a little bit of business. I'm going to move us forward, so get back sort of into the main plot. We've heard earlier that Sappho's not feeling well, a bit of a headache. So we're going to go into the next scene, Act 3, Scene 3, where Sappho is still not feeling desperately well. She's surrounded by her various attendants. So we have Sappho, as well as Mileta, Ismena, Canope, Eugenua, Favilla, Lamya, etc.
Hey ho, I know not which way to turn me. I faint, I die.
Madam, I think it good you have more clothes and sweat it out.
No, the best ease I find is to sigh it out.
A strange disease that should breathe such a desire.
A
Where,
strange,
lady, do you...
a strange desire that hath brought such a disease,
Where, lady, do you feel most pain?
where nobody else can feel it, Canope.
At the heart?
In the heart.
Will you have any Mithridate?
Yeah, if for this disease there were any Mithridate.
Why? What disease is it, madam, that physic cannot cure?
Only the disease, Mileta, that I have.
Is it a burning ague?
I think so, or a burning agony.
Will you have any of this syrup to moisture your mouth?
Would I had something to dry my brain.
Madam, will you see if you can sleep?
Sleep, Favilla. I shall then dream.
As good dream sleeping as sigh waking.
Phao is cunning in all kind of simples, and it is hard if there be none to procure sleep.
Who?
Phao.
Yeah. Phao. Phao, let him come presently.
Shall we draw the curtains whilst you give yourself to slumber?
Do, but depart not. I have such starts at my sleep, disquieted, I know not how, in a slumber. Phao.
What say you, madam?
Nothing. But if I sleep not now, you send for Phao. Oh, gods.
And she falleth asleep, and the curtains are drawn.
There is a fish called Garrus that healeth all sickness, so as whilst it is applied, not one name, not Garrus.
An evil medicine for us women. For if we should be forbidden to name Garrus, we should chat nothing but Garrus.
Well said, Eugenua. You know yourself.
Yea, Canope, and that I am one of your sex.
I have heard of an herb called Moonery that being about the pulses of the sick causes nothing but dreams and weddings and dances.
I think, Ismena, that herb be at thy pulses now, for thou art ever talking of matches and merriments.
It is an unlucky sign in the chamber of the sick to talk of marriages, for my mother said it foreshoweth death.
It's very evil too, Canope, to sit at the bed's feet and foretelleth danger. Therefore, remove your stool and sit by me.
Sure it is some cold she hath taken.
One were burnt. I think we women would say he died of a cold.
It may be some conceit.
Then is there no fear, for yet did I never hear of a woman that died of a conceit.
I mistrust her not, for that the owl hath not shrieked at the window, or the night raven croaked, both being fatal.
Ah, you are all superstitious, for these be but the fancies of doting age, who by chance, observing it in some, have set it down as a religion for all.
Favilla, thou art but a girl. I would not have a weasel cry, nor desire to see a glass, nor an old wife come into my chamber, for then, though I lingered in my disease, I should never escape it.
Ah, who is there? What sudden affrights be these? Methought Phao came with simples to make me sleep. Did nobody name Phao before I began to slumber?
Yes, we told you of him.
Well, let him be here tomorrow.
He shall. Will you have a little broth to comfort you?
I can relish nothing.
Yet a little you must take to sustain nature.
I cannot, Mileta, I will not. Oh, which way shall I lie? What shall I do? Oh, Mileta, help to rear me up. My bed, my head lies too low. You pester me with too many close by. You keep the chamber too hot. Avoid it. It may be I shall steal a nap when all are gone.
We will.
And exeunt all the ladies, leaving Sappho alone.
Impatient disease of love and goddess of love, thrice unpitiful. The eagle is never stricken with thunder, nor the olive with lightning. And may great ladies be plagued with love. Venus, have I not strewed thine altars with sweet roses, kept thy swans in clear rivers, fed thy sparrows with ripe corn, and harboured thy doves in fair houses? Thy tortoise have I nourished under my fig tree. My chamber have I sealed with thy cockle shells, and dipped thy spung into the freshest waters. Didst thou nurse me in my swaddling clouds with wholesome herbs, that I may perish in my flowering years by fancy? I perceive, but late I perceive, and yet not too late, because at last that strains a court as well by stooping too low as reaching too high, that eyes are blared as soon with vapours that come from the earth as with beams that proceed from the sun. Love lodgeth sometimes in caves, and thou, Phoebus, that in the pride of thy heart shinest all day in our horizon, at night dippest thy head in the ocean. Resist it, Sappho, whilst it is yet tender. Of acorns comes oaks, of drops floods, of sparks flames, of atomies elements. But alas, it fareth with me as with wasps, who feeding on serpents make their stings more venomous, for glutting myself on the face of Phao, I have made my desire more desperate. Into the nest of an Alcyon no bird can enter but the Alcyon, and into the heart of so great a lady can any creep but a great lord? There is a herb, not unlike unto my love, which the further it groweth from the sea, the salter it is. And my desires, the more they swerve from reason, the more seem they reasonable. When Phao cometh, what then? Wilt thou open thy love? Yeah? No. Sappho, but staring in his face, no, till thine eyes dazzle and thy spirits faint. Die before his face, then this shall be written on thy tomb, that though thy love were greater than wisdom could endure, yet thine honour was such as love could not violate. Mileta.
And
Rachael.
re-enter my letter, and Ismena.
It will not be. I can take no rest, which way soever I turn.
A strange malady.
Mileta, if thou wilt, a martyrdom. But give me my lute, and I will see if in song I can beguile mine own eyes.
Here, madam.
Have you sent for Phao?
Yes.
And to bring simples that will procure sleep?
No.
Foolish wench! What would the boy do here if he brings not remedies with him? You think belike I could sleep if I did not but see him? Let him not come at all. Yes, let him go. No, it is no matter, yet will I try. Let him come, do you hear?
Yea, madam, it shall be done.
And she goes out.
Peace, no noise. She beginneth to fall asleep. I will go to Phao.
So speedily, for if she wake and find you not here, she will be angry. Sick folks are testy, who though they eat nothing, yet they feed on gall.
And exit my letter. Ismena retires, and there's a song, Sappho, you don't need to sing.
O cruel love, on thee I lay my curse, which shall strike blind the day. Never may sleep with velvet hand charm thine eyes with sacred wand. Thy jailers shall be hopes and fears, thy prison mates groan sighs and tears. Thy play to wear out weary times, fantastic passions, owies and rhymes. Thy bread be frowns, thy drink be gall, such as when you Phao call. Thy bed thou liest on be despair, thy sleep fond dreams, thy dreams long care. Hope like thy fool at thy bed's head, mock thee till madness strike thee dead. As Phao, thou dost me with thy proud eyes. In thee poor Sappho lives, for thee she dies.
And having sung about her love, they exit. Yeah, I think Sappho is definitely suffering from some indecision there as to how to proceed. There's an awful yes of yes, no going on.
Yes, but no, but.
Yeah, there's a lot of that, and the servants all sort of trying to figure out what's the best way of dealing with Sappho and Sappho. Yeah, lots and lots of things coming out of that scene. Thoughts on the room? Who wants to leap in first? Lynn.
Yes, I was just going to say Sappho's monologue there, even though it is classical and heavily metaphorical and in some ways very structured, it's still a really kind of lovely portrayal of adolescent longing. I think I would have to credit Tamara's reading as for part of that, but it's sort of a sad and lovely moment of, yeah, we all remember what it's like to be 14 and convinced that you are going to die if you don't have this person.
Yeah, I won't tell him I love him. I'll just stare at him until I die. Oh, were we ever so young? Helen.
I don't know who said it, but it is a traditional saying, I think. Two things cannot be hid, love and a cough. I mean, I've known so many people madly in love, and they think it's a tremendous secret, but everybody knows. So I think all her women actually are totally aware of what's happening.
Oh yeah, because Eugenua just very, very, casually going, Phao's cunning in simples. No, hint. You can bring him round. That might, because I'm sure the herbs he brings will help you.
He's the drug dealer.
Yeah. Alan.
Yeah, one thing that confused me slightly right at the beginning of that scene was this thing about the fish called Garrus. Does anyone have any information on what that was?
I'm sure
I think Helen's
find something on that.
got some thoughts on it.
Helen?
Well, I'm not sure about the fish called Garrus, but garum was Roman fish sauce.
Yes, it was, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, rotting anchovies.
Pretty much.
Yeah. It's it seems to be along those lines of along with eagles and things. There's a lot of natural history bobbing about in this. Lois, muted at the moment.
Yes, I think maybe Garrus could replace Duckman in our habitual language. Well, it works as long as you don't think of it, Yeah.
Other thoughts from the room? It's so wonderfully performative. I mean, there's so much business that could be structured around this with the company, and also as a solo turn. It's a wonderful speech. It feels like it's definitely an audition speech possibilities there, or materials for an audition speech there for those who want to use something early modern. Eric, I think I saw a hand.
I just love how the maids actually, handmaidens, whatever you want to call them, put up with her. They're kind of like, oh yeah, totally. We totally did exactly what you said. It depends how you play it, of course, but yeah.
Well, again, they all have slightly different approaches of trying to get her mood into something slightly more controllable. I think isn't that what courtiers always do with their their charges, as it were, is just try and make sure that they're not destroying the furniture. You know, oh, I don't want blankets. I don't want those things. There's too much stuff. It's you know. Other thoughts before we move on? Okay, we will go into the next scene, last scene of this act, as it were. And having called for Phao, we have a scene with Mileta, presumably going to fetch Phao himself.
I would either your cunning, Phao, or your fortune might by simples provoke my lady to some slumber.
My simples are in operation as my simplicity is, which if they do little good, assuredly they can do no harm.
Were I sick, the very sight of thy fair face would drive me into a sound sleep.
Indeed, gentlewomen are so drowsy in their desires that they can scarce hold up their eyes for love.
I mean, the delight of beauty would so blind my senses as I should be quickly rocked into a deep rest.
You women have an excuse for an advantage which must be allowed, because only to you women was it allotted.
Thou art passing fair, and able to draw a chaste eye, not only to glance, but to gaze on thee. Thy young years, thy quick wit, thy staid desires are a force to control those which should command.
Lady, I forgot to commend you first, and lest I should have overslipped to praise you at all, you have brought in my beauty, which is simple, that in courtesy I might remember yours, which is singular.
You mistake of purpose, or misconstrue of malice.
I am as far from malice as you from love, and to mistake of purpose were to mislike of peevishness.
As far as I from love? Why, think you me so dull as I cannot love, or so spiteful I will not?
Neither, lady. But how should men imagine women can love when in their mouths there is nothing wiser than, in faith I do not love?
Why, will you have women's love in their tongues?
Yes, I think there is none in their heart.
Why?
Because there was never anything in the bottom of a woman's heart that cometh not to her tongue's end.
You are too young to cheapen love.
Yeah, old enough to talk with market folks.
Well, let us in.
And we can presume that once again they uncover the bed. The curtains are drawn back, or the place where Sappho is.
Come.
Who? Phao? Phao, let him come near. But who sent for him?
You, madam.
I am loath to take any medicines, yet must I rather than pine in these maladies. Phao, you may make me sleep, if you will.
And exit the servants, leaving Sappho and Phao alone.
If I can, I must, if you will.
What herbs have you brought, Phao?
Such as will make you sleep, madam, though they cannot make me slumber.
Why? How can you cure me when you cannot remedy yourself?
Oh, yes, madam, the causes are contrary, for it is only a dryness in your brains that keepeth you from rest.
But what?
Nothing. Mine is not so.
Nay, then I despair of help, if our disease be not all one.
I would our diseases were all one.
It goes hard with the patient when the physician is desperate.
Yeah, Medea made the ever-waking dragon to snort when she, poor soul, could not wink.
Medea was in love, and nothing could cause her rest but Jason.
Indeed, I know no herb to make lovers sleep, but heart's ease, which, because it groweth so high, I cannot reach. For
whom?
For such as love.
it groweth very low, and I can never stoop to it, that
what?
I may gather it. But why do you sigh so, Phao?
It is my news, madam.
It will do you harm, and me too, for I never hear one sigh, but I must sigh also.
Well, it were best then that your ladyship give me leave to be gone, for I can but sigh.
Nay, stay, for now I begin to sigh. I shall not leave, though you be gone. But what do you think best for your sighing, to take it away?
You, madam.
Me?
No, madam, you of the tree.
Then will I love you the better, and indeed I think so it would make me sleep too. Therefore all other simple set aside, I will simply use only you.
Do, madam, for I think nothing in the world so good as you.
Farewell for this time.
And there's a bit of a business here of Phao moving away from her bed, the curtains closing, stuff, but broadly, more importantly, enter Venus and Cupid to Phao.
Is not your name Phao?
Phao, fair Venus, whom you made so fair.
So passing fair. Oh, fair Phao, oh, sweet Phao, what wilt thou do for Venus?
Anything that cometh in the compass of my poor fortune.
Cupid shall teach thee to shoot, and I will instruct thee to dissemble.
I will learn anything but dissembling.
Why, my boy?
Because then I must learn to be a woman.
Thou heardest that of a man.
Men speak truth.
But truth is a she, and so always painted.
I think a painted truth.
Well, farewell for this time. I must visit Sappho.
And Phao exits, and we have Venus, and the scene effectively continues, but we will pause there. Again, we have all these sort of overlapping, interlocking scenes, so these pauses are to some degree artificial, if textual. So only you. Yeah, the you gag is really used there, and the timing of pulling out some you as a prop feels very important to get right, as that play goes. Lois.
Yeah, it's interesting because there is a use of that pun in The White Devil, where Vittoria talks about dreaming of a yew tree, and it's clearly being used with a double meaning as well, but much less obviously than here. But it suggests to me anyway that this was a very sort of standard pun, and probably everybody would have spotted it.
Well, it is the way the joke is very laboriously explained here. It's that it happens,
Yeah.
and then the you of the tree. It's just to make it absolutely clear. But the way that scene could be played, there's so many ups and downs and backs and forths, and how far are they allowing themselves to go with this scene, and how much they're covering up what they're actually feeling all the time.
Yeah.
Going back to the very opening when we got Mileta bringing Phao in, and we've got that very interesting back and forth between them. Phao coming on going, well, I'm not really that good on herbal remedies. I've got some aspirin. Will that do? And then this sort of back and forth, because we've got to remember that Phao is fit as hell. So we've got Mileta there, just gawping and to a degree as well, perhaps, and how far is her flirtiness apparent, and so there's a lot of sort of flirty possibility going on here. Thoughts from the room, Lynn?
So Phao is a little bit different. He's sort of a different character than he started out. When he was not so attractive, he seemed to be a sort of simpler fellow. His opening about how I'm just a ferryman and that's okay, and the simple life is best, and I'm contented with my lot. I mean, if we take that as being sincere. It seems a very different character than this person who's so adept at witty banter that we see here. So I think if you're playing Phao, you need to decide what changed you. Was it becoming beautiful? Did that make you into this sort of witty punster, or did falling in love make that change? Because he's definitely his character has changed.
The sort of armor has been put up, hasn't it, to what's going on there? Other thoughts? Lois, currently muted, then Tamara.
Yeah, sorry, I've been using the mute because there's so much noise out in the street. It always seems to me that the scene that we should have had and didn't have is the one where Venus actually turned Phao into something beautiful. I mean, the big transformation scene, which would have been the whole point of an awful lot of plays. Instead people just come on and say, oh, Phao's now become beautiful. So of course we're missing the whole transition that Lynn is talking about in a way.
Yeah, in the first scene when he's does he have a mask? What's the fundamental difference? Was he just an ordinary bloke, or was it, what levels are we talking about here in terms of his change in physical appearance? Is it just a fundamentally different actor just wearing the same costume in that first scene as well? So yeah, there's all sorts of interesting. Yes, we should really have noted that yesterday when you were just going this dialogue of just, oh, so Phao suddenly fit, right? Okay, Tamara.
Well, I just wanted to bring it back to all the back and forth, because it's at least reading Sappho, and I don't think I've quite managed it, of course, because this is the first read through, but there are so many different tactics that she's trying, and I think you can spend days on this scene with two actors just to get the chemistry right. It's just, I want to see this in rehearsal. I want to see the rehearsal process for that scene specifically.
Yes, because they both vowed basically that they won't give in to love, and yet they obviously really want to give in to love. So there's sort of romantic, there's lust, there's all sorts of things which they're trying not to show, but then they are showing it, and then they're giving themselves away, and there's sort of retreats and movements on that. Rachael, then Helen.
I was just gonna say, I think there's so much of this flirting, and I feel like there's so much payoff in this scene from everything that we've been waiting for, leading up to it, because this is the second meeting, and it feels like this is the first really lengthy amount of time that they've I think this is the first time that they've actually had alone, because in the scene from yesterday, I think they had servants and things like that, but and then also the other scenes where there were only the servants and they were talking and all these things. I think the part where they're talking about it's so low that I can't pick it up, and then it's so high that I can't reach it, talking about the difference in station, how Phao is of a vastly different station from her, and they're in the same scene, where before Lily's been separating the masters and the servants into slightly different scenes, and I think this is them recognizing that, and also having to play coy with each other, not just because they're in love and they're trying to test and see if each other's emotions are in the same place, but also they're keeping in mind that difference in station and trying to find a place to meet in between that.
It's that thing. Yes, they are alone. I mean, they could jump each other's bones now, and nobody's there to stop them because of decorum or anything. So that gives us another tension in the room to a degree. That creates all so many opportunities. Helen.
Yes, Rachael has preempted quite a bit of what I was going to say, which is that their problem isn't so much that previously they have said they aren't interested. It's that one of them is a queen and the other one is a ferryman. And if it was a king and a ferryman's daughter, it would be a different problem altogether. But here, neither of them can speak first. Which is why the word you suddenly becomes both an opportunity and something to be withdrawn from very, very fast indeed.
Lynn.
Yeah, I'm going back a little to the question of Phao's transformation, because it's going to matter quite a bit how that's managed in production. If you have a completely different actor who's physically about the same size, but much more fit and handsome, wearing the same costume, you're saying one thing. And if you have the same actor who maybe in his first appearance slouches a little and maybe has like dirt on his face, and, you know, an ugly haircut and frumpy clothes, and then all you do is you clean him up and give him a good haircut and have him carry himself differently, that's saying something different about that transformation consists in. And I think you could go either way. That, you know, that if you go with the latter, you're kind of saying beauty really is a matter of presentation, of confidence. There's really nothing kind of essential about attractiveness. It's a matter of attitude and of accoutrement. And if you change your actor, then you're saying that the beauty. Some thought needs to go into how you want to manage that transformation.
Yeah, it's that question. You know, he's wearing glasses in the first scene, and then he takes them off, and suddenly he's gorgeous. You know,
yeah, sure.
We've never seen that in a film before. Stephen, then Eric.
Does anybody remember Ned Flanders? I sort of imagine that, you know, from The Simpsons, where this kind of nerdy guy, and he takes his shirt off, and he is buffer than buff. So the sort of slightly earthier version of what Lynn's just suggested is just, you know, sort of an actor who looks good with his shirt off, you know, sort of contrives to leave it behind.
I have another suggestion. Speaking of Ned Flanders, just get somebody who starts to play with a stash and have him shave the stash.
Yeah, Eric, then Lynn.
I was going to say he just kind of reminds me of Rocky from Rocky Horror. Like this really buff guy who is not particularly intelligent, but he's intelligent enough to sort of understand what's going on and sort of, yeah, I don't know.
Lynn.
Actually, do you know who he reminds me of? Is I can't remember the character's name, but the title character basically sings "Playboy of the Western World," who's this like feckless country boy who shows up in this town, claiming that he's murdered his father, and that makes him glamorous. And then once the girls in the town and the people in the town decide that he's exotic, he's glamorous, he's dangerous, he all of a sudden becomes attractive. And I'm reminded of this partly because years ago I costumed a production of this where our actor managed that transformation really, really brilliantly. He was just like this hunched over, dressed almost in rags, kind of unconfident little thing. And then once the girls started going, "Ooh, you're a dangerous playboy," he just became incredibly charismatic. So that's what Phao reminds me of, is the transformation kind of comes from within.
Any additional thoughts before we move on? I see no one waving. So we continue, and in a sense, this is one long scene. These scene breaks are fairly artificial, in the sense that you know, Phao has moved away from where Sappho is. Sappho's on a bed, or there's curtains perhaps closing, but it's still essentially in the same space. And so Phao exits, and Venus and Cupid, who came on and just chatted with Phao, are now going to get Sappho's attention. So Act 4, Scene 1 is, say, in that sense, something of a continuation. And so Venus now has a chat with Sappho, Cupid in attendance.
Sappho, I have heard thy complaints and pitied thy agonies.
Oh, Venus, my cares are only known to thee, and by thee only came the cause. Cupid, why wouldst thou wound me so deep?
My mother bade me draw mine arrow to the head.
Venus, why didst thou prove so hateful?
Cupid took a wrong shaft.
Oh, Cupid, too unkind to make me so kind, that almost I transgress the modesty of my kind.
I was blind and could not see mine arrow.
How came it to pass thou didst hit my heart?
That came by the nature of the head, which being once let out of the bow, can find none other lighting place but the heart.
Be not dismayed, Phao shall yield.
If he yield, then shall I shame to embrace one so mean? If not, die, because I cannot embrace one so mean. Thus do I find no mean.
Well, I will work for thee. Farewell.
Farewell, sweet Venus, and thou, Cupid, which art sweetest in thy sharpness.
And exit Phao, and we're going to run straight on into the continuation of the scene, Venus and Cupid.
Cupid, what hast thou done? Put thine arrows in Phao's eyes and wounded thy mother's heart.
You gave him a face to allure. Then why should not I give him eyes to pierce?
O Venus, unhappy Venus, who in bestowing a benefit upon a man, haste brought a bane unto a goddess. What perplexities dost thou feel, O fair Phao, and therefore made fair to breed in me a frenzy? Would that when I gave thee golden locks to curry thy head, I had shackled with the iron locks on thy feet. And when I nursed thee, Sappho, with lettuce, would it had turned to hemlock. Have I brought a smooth skin over thy face to make a rough scar in my heart, and given thee a fresh color like the damask rose to make mine pale, like the stained turkey? O Cupid, thy flames with Psyche's were but sparks, and my desires with Adonis but dreams in respect of these unacquainted torments. Laugh, Juno. Venus is in love, but Juno shall not see with whom, lest she be in love. Venus belike is become stale. Sappho, forsooth, because she hath many virtues, therefore she must have all the favors. Venus waxeth old, and then she was a pretty wench when Juno was a young wife. Now crow's foot is on her eye, and the black ox hath trod on her foot. But were Sappho never so virtuous, thus she think to contend with Venus to be amorous. Yield, Phao, but yield to me, Phao. I entreat where I may command. Command thou where thou shouldest entreat. In this case, Cupid, what is thy counsel? Venus must both play the lover and the dissembler, and therefore the dissembler because the lover.
You will ever be playing with arrows like children with knives, and then when you bleed, you cry. Go to Vulcan, entreat by prayers, threats with blows, woe with kisses, bane with curses. Try all means to rid these extremities.
To what end?
That he might make me new arrows, for nothing can root out the desires of Phao, but a new shaft of inconsistency, nor anything turn Sappho's heart, but a new arrow of disdain. And then they disliking one the other, who shall enjoy Phao but Venus?
I will follow thy counsel, for Venus, though she be in her latter age for years, yet is in her nonage for affections. When Venus ceases to love, let love cease to rule. But come, let us to Vulcan.
Live long and prosper. Yeah, especially when we're talking about going to Vulcan to get rid of all extremities of emotion.
Illogical, Captain.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I really like Cupid having a go at Venus to a degree. Well, you're the one who keeps playing with matches. Well, things going wrong. You're the one who keeps playing with these toys. Go run to Vulcan. Go on. I find that really interesting. All sorts of things there. Yeah, Sappho's got obviously has had a chat with Venus before. It's not the first time. It feels like there's an ongoing relationship. All sorts of interesting questions arise. Who wants to leap in first? Lynn.
Oh, yeah, they don't mention it, but it's a gender-reversed Pygmalion, isn't it? She made this guy really beautiful, and now she's in love with him.
Damn. Lois, muted at the moment.
The opening is just a rather obvious comic gag. I mean, with Sappho saying, "Venus, why did you do this?" No, it was all Cupid's fault. Cupid, why did you do this? It was all Venus's fault. With Sappho going like this. I think it's quite funny.
Another fine mess you've got me in. Other thoughts? No, nobody's got anything. Everyone's sort of there. Okay. I mean, again, it's all this sort of ongoing, continuing action. Sappho popping back in a box, as it were, behind the curtains into bed, while the scene with Venus and Cupid happening in front. But then the moment they've exited, once again, we have Sappho and all her handmaidens with her. So we have this little ensemble scene. Opening with Sappho, and as we go into Act 4, Scene 3. So, eyes down for this scene.
What dreams are these, Mileta? And can there be no truth in dreams? Yeah, dreams have their truth. Methought I saw a stock dove or woodquist. I know not how to term it, that brought short straws to build his nest in a tall cheddar, where whilst with his bill he was framing his building, he lost as many feathers from his wings as he laid straws in his nest. Yet scrambling to catch hold to harbour in the house he had made, he suddenly fell from the bough where he stood, and then, pitifully casting up his eyes, he cried in such terms, as I imagined, as might either condemn the nature of such a tree or the daring of such a mind. Whilst he lay quaking upon the ground, I gazed on the cheddar. I might see ants to breathe in the rind, coveting only to hoard, and caterpillars to cleave to the leaves, labouring only to suck, which caused more leaves to fall from the tree. Then there did the feathers before from the dove. Methought, Mileta, I sighed in my sleep, pitying both the fortune of the bird and the misfortune of the tree. But in this time, quills began to bud again in the bird, which made him look as though he would fly up. And then wished I that the body of the tree would bow, that he might but creep up the tree then. And so, hey-ho!
And so what?
Nothing, Mileta, but... And so I waked. But did nobody dream but I?
I dreamed last night, but I hope dreams are contrary, that holding my head over a sweet smoke, all my hair blazed on a bright flame. Methought Ismena cast water to quench it, yet the sparks fell on my bosom, and wiping them away with my hand, I was all in a gore blood, till one with few fresh flowers staunched it. And so, stretching myself as stiff, I started. It was but a dream.
Ismena is Elizabeth. Tell us your dreams. Muted at the moment.
So, gradually, it is a sign you shall fall in love with hearing fair words. Water signifieth counsel, flowers, death, and nothing can purge your loving humour but death.
You are no interpreter, but an interpreter, harping always upon love, till you be as blind as a harper.
Remember last night but one, I dreamed mine eye tooth was loose, and that I thrust it out with my tongue.
It foretelleth the loss of a friend, and I ever thought thee so full of prattle, that thou wouldst thrust out thy best friend with thy tattling.
Yea, Mileta, but it was loose before, and if my friend be loose, as good thrust out with plain words as kept in with dissembling.
Helen, muted at the moment.
Dreams are but dotings, which come either by things we see in the day or meats that we eat, and so flatter the common sense, preferring it to be the imaginative.
Soft philosophy tricks, well seen in the secrets of art, and not seduced with the superstitions of nature.
Ismena's tongue never lies still. I think all her teeth will be loose. They are so often jogged against her tongue. But say on, Eugenia.
There is all.
What did you dream, Canope?
I seldom dream, madam, but sith your sickness, I cannot tell whether with overwatching, but I have had many fantastical visions. For even now, slumbering by your bedside, methought I was shadowed with a cloud, where, laboring to unwrap myself, I was more entangled. But in the midst of my striving, it seemed myself gold with fair drops. I filled my lap, and running to show my fellows, it turned to dust. I blushed, they laughed, and then I waked, being glad it was but a dream.
Take heed, Canope, that gold tempt not your lap, and then you blush for shame.
It is good luck to dream of gold.
Yea, if it had continued gold.
I dream every night, and the last night this. Methought that walking in the sun, I was stung with the fly tarantula, whose venom nothing can expel but the sweet consent of music. I tried all kinds of instruments, but found no ease, till at the last 2 lutes tuned in one key so glutted my thirsting ears that my grief presently ceased. For joy whereof, as I was clapping my hands, your ladyship called.
It is a sign that nothing shall assuage your love but marriage. For such is the tying of 2 in wedlock, as is the tuning of 2 lutes in one key. For striking the strings of the one, straws will stir upon the strings of the other, and in 2 minds linked in love, one cannot be delighted, but the other rejoices.
Methought, going by the seaside among pebbles, I saw one playing with a round stone, ever throwing it into the water when the sun shined. I asked the name. He said it was called Abystone, which, being once hot, would never be cold. He gave it me and vanished. I, forgetting myself, delighted with the fair show, would always show it by candlelight, pull it out in the sun, and see how bright it would look in the fire, where, catching heat, nothing could cool it. For anger I threw it against the wall, and with the heaving up of mine arm, I waked.
Beware of love, Favilla, For women's hearts are such stones which, warmed by affection, cannot be cooled by wisdom.
I warrant you, for I never credit men's words.
Yet be wary, for women are scorched sometimes with men's eyes, though they had rather consume than confess.
Cease your talking, for I would fain sleep to see if I can dream whether the bird hath feathers or the ant's wings. Draw the curtain.
And once again, that team disappears. So we have a bit of a dream premonition swapping time. Do these dreams mean something? Are they presages for some action future to come? Have we all suitably decoded our own dreams or each other's? Do dreams really mean anything, or are they just nonsense? Thoughts, answers on a postcard, the usual address. I'll go to Lynn first, then Alan.
I think it might even be a question whether or not the maids are telling the truth, or if they're making up these dreams to try to kind of instruct Sappho in the nature of love. Am I crazy? Is that a weird interpretation?
Yeah, it's possible. Entirely possible. Thoughts from the room on that or other things, Alan?
I've got a feeling that the simples he brought along were probably hallucinogenic.
Brought in the wrong batch. Wrong batch. But yeah, it's the thing is, in any drama, if you've got people saying I dreamt this, then it's going to usually suggest, something like what they say will happen to them in some way. But maybe it's not. Maybe it's just Sappho as opposed to the others, or not. Thoughts on their dreams or dreams in general. Joe.
Yeah, I'm just reminded again of the prologue at the court, where the prologue says to the queen, at some point, why don't you just imagine yourself dreaming and then waking up and saying, wasn't that great? And there's been a lot of dreaming going on now all of a sudden.
Yes, absolutely. Other thoughts? Tamara, you're obviously having the longest, most complex dream that, of course, everybody else is obliged by law to listen to, on pain of torture. Thoughts?
Well, what stuck with me was the fact that on the one hand, I'm asking, what did you guys dream about? On the other hand, at the end of the scene, I'm just like, shut up now. Thanks. Which is, it's everyone sort of talking about their dream, but I don't think Sappho cares that much, to be honest. And the tooth thing is such a common dream, but they are terrible. I don't like those myself. I wonder if some of this is general, how do I put this? General dream imagery, like, those dream interpretation books you get, if a bunch of these dreams are one of those common ones that would come up in these books.
Yeah, it's actually, I think Sappho runs the room quite well until towards the end. I mean, she's actually trying to make sure that people play nice. So Eugenua is talking, Ismena interrupts, and you sort of step in, and then so no, back to Eugenua, because you spoke over her, and no, I've said it. And it's not like a Zoom meeting at all. It's and then the stories get more elaborate and longer, and it's like then you're getting slightly frozen out as they're getting into it, and that's when you shut the room down, because you know that it's not about you anymore. That might be an unfair interpretation from me. Other thoughts before we move on? Okay, we are going to move to quite a different location First sort of location shift in quite a while. We have the return of Venus and Cupid, and in a moment we're going to meet somebody new because there's going to be the entrance of Vulcan. So enter Venus and Cupid.
Come, Cupid, Vulcan's flames must quench Venus' fires. Vulcan!
And Vulcan looks out from, maybe there's a forge, who knows? Vulcan today is muted.
Muted. Who?
Venus.
Oh, Venus.
Come, sweet Vulcan, thou knowest how sweet thou hast found Venus, who, being of all the goddesses most fair, hath chosen of all the gods the most foul. Thou must needs then confess I was most loving. Inquire not the cause of my suit by questions, but prevent the effects by courtesy. Make me 6 arrowheads. It is given the gods by permission to frame them to any purpose. I shall request them by prayer. Why lowerest thou, Vulcan? Wilt thou have a kiss? Hold up thy head. Venus hath young thoughts and fresh affections. Roots had strings when boughs have no leaves. But hearken in thine ear, Vulcan. What sayest thou?
Vulcan is a god with you when you are disposed to flatter. A right woman whose tongue is like a bee sting, which pricketh deepest when it is fullest of honey. Because you have made mine eyes drunk with fair looks, you will set mine ears on edge with sweet words. You were wont to say that the beating of hammers made your head ache, and the smoke of the forge your eyes water, and every coal was a block in your way. You weep rose water when you ask, and spit vinegar when you have obtained. What would you now with new arrows? Belike Mars hath a tougher skin on his heart, or Cupid a weaker arm, or Venus a better courage. Well, Venus, there is never a smile on your face, but hath made a wrinkle in my forehead. Ganymedes must fill your cup, and you will pledge none but Jupiter. But I will not chide, Venus. Come, Cyclops, my wife must have her will. Let us do that in earth which the gods cannot undo in heaven.
Gramercy, sweet Vulcan, to your work.
And here is there a song in the making of the arrows. Vulcan, take it away.
My shaghead Cyclops, come, let's ply our Lemnian hammers lustily. By my wife's sparrows, I swear these arrows shall singing fly through many a wanton's eye. These headed are with golden blisses, these silvered ones feathered with kisses. But this of lead strikes a clown dead, then in a dance he falls in a trance, to see his black-browed lass not buss him, and then winds out for death to untruss him. So, our work being done, let's play. Holiday, boys, cry holiday. Here, Venus, I have finished these arrows by art, bestow them you by wit, for as great advice must he use that hath them, as he cunning that made them.
Vulcan, now you have done with your forge, let us alone with the fancy. You are as the fletcher, not the archer, to meddle with the arrow, not the aim.
I thought so. When I have done working, you have done wooing. Where is now sweet Vulcan? Well, I can say no more than this, which is enough, as much as any can say. Venus is a woman.
Be not angry, Vulcan. I will love thee again, when I have either business or nothing else to do.
My mother will make much of you when there are no more men than Vulcan.
And again, it's a slightly artificial pause here because Venus and Cupid still have some action to do. But yeah, Vulcan's feeling a bit used. Yeah, there are some interesting elements to that. There's a fab song, I have to say. We can assume that there's some Cyclops action there to assist in the forging process, and there's actions to go with it as the arrows are created, and that's all really rather fun. But yeah, Venus really working, and Vulcan, it's like the moment he just goes ho ho Venus, you know, that those three words are loaded with, oh, it's this game again, is it? I've been here before. Every starting time. And lo, it comes to pass. Yeah, thoughts from the room. Who wants to leap in on this?
Yeah, we've seen this before. Those of us who have read the Aeneid, Venus goes to Vulcan and coochie-coos him into making a shield for Aeneas, her son, by another man, a mortal, in fact. So, yeah, this is a rehearsal of that scene from the Aeneid and a kind of send-up of it, I think.
Yeah, other thoughts? Certainly it's very playable. There's a lot of again options for performance here in terms of how that runs. Anyone else want to leap in? Room oddly silent today. So many options. Rachael.
I just like Vulcan's whole speech here, because it's like it talks, you know, like this is his first coming into this play, and this monologue here is just, it speaks so much of his relationship with Venus, and it's so powerful to introduce who he is, and that he the whole everybody running around and saying he wears horns. He's completely aware of all these things and of all his life, and he goes with it anyway. It's kind of very interesting. And the song, I like the song too.
Yeah, the play presents us with so many different love options, as it were, and you know, this is a very transactional relationship. I think is one way of putting, you know, and there's very much one side using another, and in this, and yeah, it's quite unpleasant in many ways, but within the context of all the other different kind of love things that are going on. With the extended court as well, and discussions, it is presenting lots of different options and relationships here. Any other additional final thoughts before we sort of complete? I say complete the scene. The scenes keep running into each other. No, okay. I'm going to ask Venus to take a deep breath now. As we go into what is labeled Act 5, but I think, frankly, all these act and scene divisions are basically meaningless.
Come, Cupid, receive thy father's instruments, thy mother's instructions, for thou must be wise in conceit if thou wilt be fortunate in execution. This arrow is feathered with the wings of Aegitus, which never sleepeth for fear of his head. The head touched with the stone perilous, which causeth mistrust and jealousy. Shoot this, Cupid, at men that have fair wives, which will make them rub the brows when they swell in the brains. The shaft is headed with Lydian steel, which striketh deep disdain of that which we most desire. The feathers are of turtle, but dipped in the blood of a tigress. Draw this up close to the head at Sappho, that she may despise where now she dotes. Good my boy, gall her on the side, that for Phao's love she may never sigh. The arrow is feathered with the phoenix wing, and headed with the eagle's bill. It maketh me passionate in desires, in love constant, and wise in conveyance, melting, as it were, their fancies into faith. This arrow, sweet child, with as great aim as thou canst, must Phao be stricken withal, and cry softly to thyself in the very loose, Venus. Sweet Cupid, mistake me not. I will make a quiver for that by itself. The fourth hath feathers of the peacock, but glued with the gum of the myrtle tree, headed with fine gold, so fastened with brittle chrysocole. This shoot at the at dainty and coy ladies, at amiable and young nymphs. Choose no other wight, but women, for this will work liking in their mind, but not love, affability in speech, but no faith, courtly favors to be mistress over many, but constant to none, sighs to be fetched from the lungs, not the heart, and tears to be wrung out of their fingers, not their eyes. Secret laughing at men's pale looks and neat attire, open rejoicing at their comeliness, at their own comeliness and men's courting. Shoot this arrow among the thickest of them, whose bosoms lie open, because they would be stricken with it. And seeing men turn women Jupiter's fools, women shall make men Venus's fools. This shaft is lead in the head, whose feathers are of the night raven, a deadly and poisoned shaft, which breedeth hate only against those which sue for love. Take heed, Cupid, thou hit not Phao with this shaft, for then shall Venus perish. The last is an old arrow, but newly mended, the arrow which hit both Sappho and Phao, working only in mean minds and aspiring to superiors, and in high estates a stooping to inferiors. With this Cupid am I galled myself, till thou have galled Phao with the other.
I warrant you I will cause Phao to languish in your love, and Sappho to disdain his.
Go, loiter not, nor mistake your shaft.
And exit Cupid.
Now, Venus, hast thou played a cunning part, though not current. But why should Venus dispute of unlawfulness of love, or faith in affection, being both the goddess of love and affection, knowing that there is as little truth to be used in love as there is reason? No, sweet Phao, Venus will obtain because she is Venus. Not thou, love, with thunder in thy hand, shall take him out of my hands. I have new arrows now for my boy, and fresh flames, at which the gods shall tremble, if they begin to trouble me. But I will expect the event and tarry for Cupid at the forge.
And exit Venus. Never ever say to a character, who you've said, to go and do a job, loiter not, nor mistake your shaft. I'm sorry. That's just. It's like saying, it's quiet, what could possibly go wrong now? It's interesting. Venus doing the whole, this is what all the arrows do. It's reminding me of Peele's, the fragments survive of Peele's Hunting of Cupid, where there are similar little fragments following similar material, which is available as a reconstruction of bits as a sort of tone poem on the podcast. That's the Hunting of Cupid, which we quite like. I try to get one plug in somewhere, but no, genuinely do have a look. It's some lovely material on that, which does dance around Venus and Cupid and stuff, and arrows. Extended arrow explanation there. I don't know if that's sort of a James Bond going through all of the equipment before he goes on a mission there, or not, but it has that sort of element to it. Venus very selfishly here, just going, right, I'm just going to ruin their lives so that I get what I want. Isn't it great to be a god?
I mean, that's the whole of Greek mythology, or mythology in general, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. Eric.
Well, I was gonna say that instead of like James Bond, it reminded me more of like basketball coaches when they call a timeout and they're like, "Oh yeah, you're gonna mark him, and you're gonna mark him," and it's sort of that level of explanation. It's so detailed.
Yeah, especially as they only actually need to use two, in terms of immediate plot points. So I'd just give him two. Actually, I'd give him one at a time. And I'd hold and you know and stuff. You know, it's just clearly this is not a good working relationship. Lynn.
Yeah, it seems to me that, I mean, even though, you know, that's mythology, Venus seems a little more petty and malicious even than usual in this play. I mean, it begins with her saying, you know, they married me to the ugliest god in the pantheon, and now I'm cranky about it. I'm salty about it. So I'm going to go screw up some other people's lives. So yeah, Venus is always screwing up people's lives, but she seems a little more vindictive even than I have seen her portrayed before. So there's that.
Maybe I just remember the Iliad wrong.
Well, I mean, when we did Dido recently, we were saying that, you know, there was an element where they weren't coming off quite as badly as they have done in other plays, and so yeah, different interpretations of gods are available. Eric.
Well, I was going to say that she actually is like mythologically quite petty and malicious, especially with like the whole when she mentions Psyche earlier, she puts Psyche through like basically hell. She puts her through because she falls in love with Cupid, so she basically makes her go through all these trials and like I think the last one is like to walk through the underworld or something, and that drives her up the wall quite literally. And yeah, it's great, you know. Vengeful is what she does.
We can discuss this at greater leisure in a moment, but we do need to move on. So we're going to go into a scene with Sappho and Cupid. So Cupid's on a mission, as we all remember. This is very important to introduces this disdain, isn't it? The arrow of disdain. So let's see how this goes. Sappho and Cupid, please.
What hast thou done, Cupid?
That my mother commanded, Sappho.
Methinks I feel an alteration in my mind, and as it were a withstanding in myself of mine own affections.
Then hath mine arrow his effect.
I pray then tell me the cause.
I dare not.
Fear nothing, for if Venus frets, Sappho can frown. Thou shalt be my son. Mileta, give him some sweet meats. Speak, good Cupid, and I will give thee many pretty things.
My mother is in love with Phao. She willed me to strike you with disdain of him, and him with desire of her.
Oh, spiteful Venus! Mileta, give him some of that. What else, Cupid?
I could be even with my mother, and so I will, if I shall call you mother.
Yeah, Cupid, call me anything, so I may be even with her.
I have an arrow, with which if I strike Phao, it will cause him to loathe only Venus.
Sweet Cupid, strike Phao with it. Thou shalt sit in my lap, I will rock thee asleep, and feed thee with all these fine knacks.
I will about it.
And exit Cupid.
But come quickly again. Unkind Venus, is this thy promise to Sappho? But if I get Cupid from thee, I myself will be the queen of love. I will direct these arrows with better aim and conquer mine own affections with greater modesty. Venus' heart shall flame, and her love be as common as her craft. Oh, Mileta, time hath disclosed that which my temperance hath kept in. But sith I am rid of the disease, I will not be ashamed to confess thee, 'cause I loved Phao, Mileta. A thing unfit for my degree, but forced by my desire.
Phao?
Phao, Mileta, of whom now Venus is enamoured.
And do you love him still?
No. I feel relenting thoughts and reason not yielding to appetite. Let Venus have him. No, she shall not have him. But here comes Cupid.
Indeed, re-enter Cupid.
How now, my boy? Hast thou done it?
Yea, and left Phao railing on Venus and cursing her name, yet still sighing for Sappho and blazing her virtues.
Alas, poor Phao, thy extreme love should not be requited with so mean a fortune. Thy fair face deserved greater favours. I cannot love. Venus hath hardened my heart.
And enter Venus.
I marvel Cupid cometh not all this while. How now, in Sappho's lap?
Yeah, Venus, what say you to it? In Sappho's lap.
Sir boy, come hither.
I will not.
What now? Will you not? Hath Sappho made you so saucy?
I will be Sappho's son. I have, as you commanded, stricken her with a deep disdain of Phao, and Phao, as she entreated me, with a great despite of you.
Unhappy wag, what hast thou done? I will make thee repented in every vein in thy heart.
Venus, be not choleric. Cupid is mine. He hath given me his arrows, and I will give him a new bow to shoot in. You are not worthy to be the lady of love that yields so often to the impressions of love. Immodest Venus, that to satisfy thy unbridled thoughts of thy heart transgressest so far from the stay of thine honour. How sayest thou, Cupid? Wilt thou be with me?
Yes.
Shall not I be on earth the goddess of affections?
Yes.
Shall not I rule the fancies of men and lead Venus in chains like a captive?
Yes.
It is a good boy.
What have we here? You, the goddess of love, and you, her son, Cupid. I will tame that proud heart, else shall the gods say they are not Venus's friends. As for you, sir boy, I will teach you how to run away. You shall be stripped from top to toe and whipped with nettles, not roses. I will set you to blow Vulcan's coals, not to bear Venus's quiver. I will handle you for this gear. Well, I say no more. But as for the new mistress of love or lady, I cry you mercy. I think you would be called a goddess. You shall know what it is to usurp the name of Venus. I will pull those plumes and cause you to cast your eyes upon your feet, not your feathers. Your soft hair, I will tongue to hard bristles, your tongue to a sting, and those alluring eyes to unluckiness, in which, if the gods aid me not, I will curse the gods.
Venus, you are in a vein answerable to your vanity, whose high words neither become you nor fear you. But let this suffice. I will keep Cupid in despite of you, and yet with the content of the gods.
Will you? Why, then we shall have pretty gods in heaven when you take gods prisoners on earth. But before I sleep, you shall both repent and find what it is but to think unreverently of Venus. Come, Cupid, she knows not how to use thee. Come with me. You know what I have for you. Will you not?
Not I.
Well, then, I will be even with you both, and that shortly.
Exit Venus.
Cupid, fear not, I will direct thine arrows better. Every rude ass shall not say he is in love. It is a toy made for ladies, and I will keep it only for ladies.
But what will you do for Phao?
I will wish him fortunate. This I will do for Phao, because I once loved Phao. For never shall it be said that Sappho loved to hate, or that out of love she could not be as courteous as she was in love passionate. Come, Mileta, shut the door.
And the scene ends. We're going to go into the next scene with Phao returning to the cave of Sybiilla, who we haven't seen for a long, long time.
Go to Sybiilla. Tell the beginning of thy love and the end of thy fortune. And lo, how happily she sitteth in her cave. Sybiilla?
Ah, Phao, welcome. What's news?
Venus, the goddess of love, I loathe. Cupid caused it with a new shaft. Sappho disdaineth me, Venus caused it for a new spite. Sybiilla, if Venus be unfaithful in love, where shall one fly for truth? She useth deceit, is it not then likely she will dispense with subtlety? And being careful to commit injuries, will she not be careless to revenge them? Well, I must now fall from love to labour, endeavour with mine oar to get a fare, not with my pen to write a fancy. Loves, with smokes which vanish in the seeing, and yet hurt whilst they're seen. The ferry, Phao, no, the stars cannot call thee to a worser fortune. Range over the world, forswear affections, entreat for death. Oh, Sappho, thou'st Cupid in thine arms, I in my heart. Thou kissest him for sport, I must curse him for spite. I will not curse him, Sappho, whom thou kissest. This shall be my resolution wherever I wander, to be as I were ever kneeling before Sappho, my loyalty unspotted, though unrewarded. With as little malice will I go to my grave as I did lie, with all in my cradle. My life should be spent in sighing and wishing. One for my bad fortune, the other for Sappho's good.
Do so, Phao, for destiny calleth thee as well from Sicily as from love. Other things hang over thy head, which I must neither tell nor thou inquire. And so, farewell.
Farewell, Sybiilla. Farewell, Sicily. Thoughts shall be thy food, and in thy steps shall be printed behind thee that there was none so loyal left behind thee. Farewell, Syracusa, unworthy to harbour faith. When I'm gone, unless Sappho be here, unlikely to harbour any.
And they exit, and the epilogue comes on stage.
They that tread in a maze walk oftentimes in one path, and at the last come out where they entered in. We fear we have led you all this while in a labyrinth of conceits, divers times hearing one device, and have now brought you to an end where we first began, which wearisome travail you must impute to the necessity of the history, as Theseus did his labour to the art of the labyrinth. There is nothing causeth such giddiness as going in a wheel, neither can there anything breed such tediousness as hearing many words uttered in a small compass. But if you accept this dance of a fairy in a circle, we will hereafter at your wills frame our fingers to all forms. And so we wish every one of you a thread to lead you out of the doubts wherewith we leave you entangled, that nothing be mistaken by our rash oversights, nor misconstrued by your deep insights.
And the play ends. So, a lot to talk about of the ending there as we sort of rattled through those last couple of scenes. Let's go back to the Sappho Cupid takeover bid. I have to say, Cupid's smile throughout that of just going, yes. Give me more. And Tamara, just the way you started turning into just feeding it was very like to a dog. It was like, here, would you like some more? Good boy. Good boy. It was sort of weirdly disgusting as well as really fun and strange and weird. And it was disturbing.
I had a little bit too much fun with that.
Yeah. So yeah, poor Venus, well, poor Phao, nobody's in a sense getting what they want. It's really interesting. Yeah, Tamara.
I don't know anything about this particular place, so is there a sequel? Because I can't quite believe that Sappho gets away with this.
Nope, that's it. Yeah, Sappho has got Venus good and proper.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Rachael.
I think just the ending with Cupid and Sappho and how this reoccurring theme of that, you know, Venus is going behind Vulcan's back, and all these things like the servants talking about horns. I think at the end, it's kind of like this thing between Cupid and Sappho. It's not something that you really see from the beginning to the end. So it's kind of plays the audience a fool, as well as, you know, all the characters, even the goddess of love, you know, who's not made a fool of, has been made a fool of. And I think yeah,
plays the audience a fool. I really like as a turn of phrase. I may come back to that later. Helen.
Yeah, I don't think it's a thing to discuss here, but those who want to see what Lyly did with the play should look at the original legend, the original myth, which is startlingly different in many, many interesting ways.
Yeah, I mean, it's we spoke last time, or we didn't speak last time about, you know, is this Sappho the same Sappho as you know, we know of, and it on paper it sort of should be, but it really isn't, and there's so much that is just not there, and Lyly either just didn't know about or just deliberately ignored. So this isn't some writer, you know, who does the various things we might think about today. This is a Sappho who is a queen, who has a court. And yeah, the stories are doing very, very different things, and that seems to be as much authorial choice as well as choice of source materials. So when at the end you must impute to the necessity of the history, I'm sort of going, well, that's nonsense.
Yeah.
That's utter nonsense, and that is a point I want to bring up a little later on once I've heard other thoughts in the room. Other thoughts about this closing? We've got the return of Sybiilla. We've got who doesn't make a long speech. It's almost like turns up to do the final turn, gets a few lines. I'll go to Lynn, then Alan.
Well, Sappho's Queen Elizabeth, right? I mean, there has to that has to be one of the implications of this, that the earthly queen is so perfect and desirable and accomplished and virtuous that she is in control of love now. She's got Cupid, she's got the arrows. She can love or not love at her own will rather than being subject to Venus. That there's got to be an element of flattering Queen Elizabeth with this telling of the story, seems to me.
Mm-hmm. Alan.
I must admit, I'm seeing the Gang of Ladies as being a hen weekend gone horribly wrong.
Mm-hmm. Other thoughts follow. Rachael.
I just like how it sort of ends with him, Phao and Sybiilla as like a lonely hearts club in this cave. Like I imagine them like drinking their sorrows away. It's kind of a funny way to end it.
Yeah, it's yeah, and it's the way he just goes in and says, "I'll tell her my story," and then he does, and then she says, "Right, yeah, going on a long journey, great plan. You have a destiny." But it's not a conversation at all. That final scene. Other thoughts. Elizabeth.
Yeah, I was really surprised to see the epilogue. I can't remember the last play that we did that had one, and I thought the epilogue was really, really compelling, and how like they broke the fourth wall to say, you know, we've led you a merry dance, but here's the reason why. I thought the epilogue was very cool.
Lovely. Okay, we're just entering extra time, so we're going to go around the room on the play overall, or the bit of the play that you've been here for, and general thoughts from the room. I'll start with Alan. Final thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting piece. As I said yesterday, I think it needs to be played with a considerable amount of pace, with all of the double talk, cross-talk routines that seem to go on through it. And I think there are many possible decisions that could be made about how you set the overall mood, particularly within Sappho's court or group or harem or whatever you call them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not so sure about the pacing. The only bit that is crosstalk is the stuff of the characters who you never see again from about halfway through the play. The rest of the play feels actually very languid. It has a sort of, Act 2 or Act 3 of a Chekhov play feel to it. It's that sort of languid late night dream sequence at times in my mind. The question of pace and how you pitch this is an important one in performance. I'll go to Joe next. You've been both prologue and epilogue.
Pretty fascinating that everybody seems to know the gods and can have a casual conversation with them anytime they want. I see this very easy to stage because there's very few settings. There's a cave, there's a curtain, there's a bed, perhaps. But it also strikes me as very visual, that you could make a Lord of the Rings type movie out of this play.
We haven't been talking enough about the visual filmic televisual medium of late. Good to be reminded.
One last thing. You pointed out the arrows, and I think it just gets funny as, okay, there's this arrow for this, and handing them one at a time so that he ends up with 6. Let's see, this is the good one, and then when she gets that line, don't make a mistake, it's very funny.
And ironically, he doesn't make a mistake, he just turns traitor. So it's a nice bit of misdirection. Very nice. Rachael, final thoughts?
I really liked the second. I really liked today's half of this play better than the first half. The first half seemed to me a lot more like episodic. Like people would there was all these different characters coming in and out, talking, having the just bantering, and then it seemed today that there was so much more meat and just like the getting. Sorry, my cat's in the background. She wants in, but there was so much more. It was a lot more show than tell, and it seemed like the comedy was more one with the main story, the main plot, and it kind of went through to the end, and there were some nice monologues.
Yeah, this is a play where it feels to me very much like Lyly figured out what play he was writing about halfway through. That's when these characters get slightly jettisoned. It doesn't seem to be for a meaningful doubling reason. There could be a doubling reason. They could double with Vulcan and additional Cyclops, but it does feel very much like, actually, no, this part of the play I'm more interested in. The witty, bantering kind of stuff that we had with those peripheral characters is the last play I wrote. That's how it feels to my mind, though, of course, I could be doing a horrible disservice. I have many other things to say about this play, which I will hold on to for the moment. Lynn, final thoughts?
Yes, when we were reading through Campaspe, Sarah talked about the title character reminding her of a Jane Austen heroine, and she can imagine her in an Empire style gown and her love interest in sort of the Lord Byron cutaway coat and trousers, and that really resonated with me. Although I think in my fantasy design would actually be to put Lyly's plays, set them in the very late 17th or early 18th century, the aesthetic of Lyly really makes me think of like a Fragonard or Watteau painting, and that would be like my fantasy is to costume them like a Watteau, a kind of Rococo look, and to emphasize the kind of lightness and frothiness and elaborate patterning, particularly this play, which has a little bit of leaves a little bit of a bad taste in your mouth in the end. So you might want to balance that with a prettier, sort of fancy, pastel-y, frothy look.
Yeah, it really doesn't leave the audience anywhere where they're expected to be. I mean, even with the hints in the prologue as to this, may not end happily, it really does wrong foot everyone in so many interesting ways. Elizabeth, final thoughts?
Yeah, it's so interesting what Lynn was saying. She reminded me of Edward Scissorhands. I don't know if you know Edward Scissorhands, and the pastel-coloured town compared to sort of the gothic nature of Edward's home. And I thought that Lynn's idea was fantastic.
Stephen, slowly slipping into the night there. Final thoughts?
I don't think I really have anything very sensible to say, because I couldn't really make out what was happening, having been allowed in at a suitable break in the performance. The only metaphor I've got in my head, this is a kind of low counterpoint to the kind of high art metaphor, was I was kind of frustrated. I don't think it could make its mind up between sort of classic 2.5 minute Eddie Cochran or something, and something with 2.5 minute guitar solos in. Those kind of long speeches reminded me of the way, certainly the music I was listening to when I was growing up. People would get a really nice groove on, and then we'd have to have the guitar solo, and it would all have to stop and start again. And it could just be because I like ensemble comedy. It seems to be written in great confidence with an ensemble. You've got a lot of people hanging around on stage. Sometimes it's built for pace, and then the lead guitarist walks to the front of the stage, and we kind of we'll go and get a Coke or something. So there's my metaphor for what it felt like, just dipping in a completely kind of shallow and unscholarly way.
No, I think that's a very valid point. Yes, and as in chat, Alan just mentioning the 15-minute drum solo as well. There is elements of that. Eric, final thoughts from you?
I have to say I did enjoy singing those random songs, although it was really fast. It was really difficult to do without having seen the lyrics beforehand. Just like those random, like my shag hair and all that stuff, and sort of Bacchus and the red fields and his red face and so on and so forth. It's random fun in the middle of a plot that is already sort of heading towards nefarious, but not entirely. You kind of like you can kind of see that Venus gets what she deserves in some way, but not really. But then gods don't really get that in plays. They're not allowed to. So yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting play, and I think it's one of those that would be really fun to do for a second look. Just a suggestion. Yeah.
Tamara, you got the best of both worlds. You got to be Phao last time, and in some of those big speeches, and then Sappho this time with some great action. You seem to have fun quite a lot of the time as an actor. The rather than saying with producer's hat on. Thoughts?
Yeah, I think as an actor, it's just kind of, especially somebody like me who loves playing bad characters or slightly Slytherin characters, I want to say. This was so much fun when I got to turn around as Sappho and just go, you know what? And I think it's complicated because of some bits with the text, but I like that you get blindsided by the end of this play. I like that you go in and you're expecting something in particular, and then you come out and you go, Wait, did that what? I quite like that, and I like the idea because I was a bit of a Greek mythology buff as a child, and I like the idea that Venus finally gets taken down a peg. And yeah, I think the play is greatly entertaining, and for the fact that you have really long speeches, they don't seem like just lots of walls of text for some reason. It's really I really like this one. I want to take it away, and I want to actually play it.
There's lots of great stuff in there. So last couple of final thoughts from people who've actually seen at least a rehearsed reading of the text. So in a sense, we're coming into an area of slightly more knowledge than normal. Lois, final thoughts.
Yeah, well, and I don't think I'll say anything much about the production that I saw, except I do remember that the scene involving Venus and Sappho fighting over Cupid in one version I saw anyway had Sappho feeding him chocolates, which seemed like a really good idea. But I think this is a play it's much more fun when you're reading than when you're not reading. And mostly I wasn't reading, so I was actually rather disengaged a lot of the time. But that particular triangle is extremely amusing. I think the epilogue is absolutely right about it, that it goes round in a circle and takes you pretty much where you were at the beginning. And the ending kind of warns the audience about, I think, taking it too seriously, by which I think it means that there are possible interpretations that it hopes that they may make or they may not, but they don't want to be blamed for. I think the difficulty with it is that I think Robert's word Chekhovian is quite right. It's that a lot of the scenes really need the second look. I mean, they need a lot of atmosphere and a kind of ensemble playing and so on. And it's difficult if you can't get that.
Helen, final thoughts.
Yeah, I think this is a play. This is a play about love as a bad thing. I mean, normally we expect love to be a good thing, but this is about the destruction that love causes. I'm being rather serious here, and I shouldn't be, because this play is a bit of froth. But love in early modern times, love was not necessarily a good thing. It was a loss of control. It was a loss of your ability to be rational. And I think that that's what we've got here. The problems that love causes. I mean, there's poor old Vulcan, who I always identify with the people I've read. It's wrong of me, but I can't help it. But there's poor old Vulcan. I'm the bit I liked best about it, which was a new discovery for me, was the women of Sappho's court, her women of the bedchamber or whatever, who were a great team. It would take some rehearsal, but they are a really, really fun group.
Of some wonderful material, and see you again soon, and goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.